Can't look in the eyes of my brother without shedding a tear for my brother. I really wanna try for my brother, 'cause I truly do feel for my brother. And since they lied to my brother.
Love is both tangible and intangible.
Love is something that is like boundless when it's really pure and true. It doesn't know any limitations, because you know, if you love somebody, you really will do anything for them.
Everybody has their textbook definition of what love is, but for me, it's understanding and the willingness to understand.
Love to me is about growth and understanding that people are not the same.
My time at Morehouse has taught me a lot about, you know, embracing the black men to another level that I never thought of before.
A loving male relationship should be void of like things that typically crowded, like bravado and machismo, and just kind of getting that all of that out of the way to really get to the heart of the other man.
So I feel like brotherly love is seeing one another by being vulnerable, but also being accountable for the relationships we gain from shaking hands or just meeting each other.
Love can be so many things. I could love you so much that I don't want to deal with you because I love you. Or no matter what you do, I'm there for you because I love you. You know, love is delicate.
There's a light that shines in my brother. Hides deep inside of my brother. I wanna pull back the cover so the world can discover.
For me, love is the expression of caring and empathy to another human and another thing that is without you. It is that outpouring of energy to someone because of their existence in your relationship.
For black men, love is revolutionary. Like, you know, if you want to really see the system act a fool, love yourself as a black man.
I feel like it's an issue in the black community across the board, but just this idea of not having feelings or it being an insult to say that someone's in their feelings, you know, that's something that I've never subscribed to, unfortunately I've never really gotten caught up in because, you know, I see the value in being in touch with yourself emotionally and things like that.
I think black men need to be okay with hugging and saying I love you and crying on your brother's shoulder and showing vulnerability. Because if you show vulnerability, you're what? Weak. It's not weak. I think it's strong. I think that's you're strong if you're able to show that and then still command the respect that you inherently should.
Whether it's my father or my stepfather or my friends, it seems like a lot of times there is that barrier to where, you know, between black men where love can come off looking weak or soft.
You don't want to be going around hugging your friends and like saying, I love you. People might question, are you gay or not? And, you know, and that's seen as like not masculine. So you kind of are forced to maybe hide those intimate feelings of, you know, you got love for your homies, you know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with that, but you don't really know how to express that.
One of the things that is limiting for us is black male vulnerability is not preached, right? So we're taught to be strong, power to the people. We're not taught to love yourself, be vulnerable, hold space for each other, talk about love and what you're going through, because we have been taught to mimic Western world values that are not expressive, not about the collective. So we have to tap into our African-centered selves and get back to the village.
This isn't something that's new. We know that this is centuries in the United States. Both others telling us not to love, but then we ourselves choosing not to love and sending messages that no, it's not cool to be about love in public. And perhaps even in private too, right? Well, why should I imagine that the public and private don't blur and overlap?
At an early age, our father figures tells us, you know, stop all that crying, that's what sissies do. Stop all that crying, that's what girls do. It's because they were never allowed to cry and express. And they did it through burying it and covering it with a vice. I mean, that's what I've experienced. But no vice in the world can stop what I feel. Because if I'm gonna cry, I'm gonna cry. If I feel something, I could be happy and I wanna cry. I could be sad, I could be angry and I wanna cry. But I know that I have to let it out.
In the household, there's a form of love. You know, hopefully, I mean, I grew up luckily with my dad and my mom in the same household, so there was a level of like hugging and saying I love you. But when you go out on the street, and I'm from Brooklyn, it's a different level of like, you want respect. And respect don't come from being loving a lot of times. You know what I'm saying? You gotta kind of be hard. You gotta stand up for what you believe in and kind of stand up for yourself.
My dad's like the perfect example of manhood in the sense that he was always reliable, always solid, always finding solutions, never complains, very stoic. His way of loving was through service, you know, and providing, you know. But the emotional aspect wasn't there. And it's like me coming up, at home, I'm African. Outside, I'm black. I'm black like the next man. So outside the home, manhood was also very stoic, very, you know, you don't complain. You don't really get too emotional with things. You know, when you at school, you hang like this, or when you go to a party, you stand like this. That's kind of how it was for me as far as like the figures I had around and, you know, who I was looking up to and things like that.
Even with my grandfather, I noticed like he would never really say, I love you, like when we got off the phone. I know he loves me, but I've made it a point because I remember just starting to say it to him and he'll kind of be like, all right, talk to you later. But now I'm like, hey, granddad, I love you. Like, say it back, you know, because I feel like black men need to feel that. We're so busy being like the tough one and, you know, having to shell all the time, but it's hard. Like, you know, we're soft too, like on the inside, just like everybody else, so.
I've never really seen my dad like show a lot of emotion. So I felt like in order for me to be a man, I gotta be able to kind of like table some of that like soft shit, you know what I'm saying? Like you gotta, you know, handle what you need to handle and keep it pushing and not be on some, I hate to say it, but crybaby stuff, you know?
Like in my family, whenever people said they loved each other, it was primarily the women in the family telling all the others in the family that they loved them, and the children saying that they loved the women and the men. But I have very few memories of the men being the ones expressing just the word, right, love, or even doing the sorts of things that we normally associate with lovingness, hugs, pats on the back, rub on the back, cuddling, you know, all those things, right?
We're kind of told indirectly and sometimes directly that, you know, don't act like that, you know, be cool, or, don't really show your feelings like that. And I would say that has impacted me up to college in a regard that expressing to other black men about my problems. I usually just do that with women, honestly. My mother, my sister. I really never did it with other black men as much as I did in college. So I believe that, the idea that we can't be expressive, we can't show feelings, hold your tears in. I think that has impacted me, and I've seen it impact other black boys from my school, and it shows today that they never had that talk or never had reached that idea that you could go beyond that, you could break that wall, you could talk about your feelings a little bit more and all that stuff like that.
You know, the little cliche phrase now, check on your strong friends, that's almost men, period. Most men spend their life trying to have this level of strong, perceived strength and stuff, and really miss out on a lot of opportunities to get in touch with people and and share and get some needed feedback and perspective.
As a kid, especially growing up, I'm 49, so in that mid 70s shift between, like the power movement of the 60s and moving into the 70s where people were trying to kind of dilute it a bit, there was such a sense of like strong manhood. And that manhood was not emotional at all. It was only kind of, well, I shouldn't say it wasn't emotional. It was selectively emotional. It was more picking on the emotions that would shield you from pain and not recognizing that pain was a part of that emotional expression.
One of the things I want to say about, black manhood, period, you have to read between the lines sometime to find a black man love. Lights was on, black man love. Food on the table, black man love. Got your money to play sports, black man love, all right?
The other piece for me is breaking that mold of grandparents, parents, elders, aunts, uncles telling you one way, the one path to success as a man was funneled through this incredibly narrow and tight box, and breaking it.
My grandfather was a slave, slavery not that far away. It was like a generation away. So it's like, his upbringing and the way it was very tough. They were very like, can't wear pink, can't wear this, can't wear that. Blue is for boys, yellow too. Maybe a girl color is more than a boy color. So it's like, for me personally, it's always been very difficult for me to really identify what masculinity is. Like, is masculinity opening the door for someone? Is masculinity like letting a girl hit you and you can't hit them back? Like, you challenge your brain, like literally challenges itself to be like, what is masculinity and where it come from and who made it?
So you always on, it's like you can never really turn that kind of like masculinity off. And you kind of feel like as you move through the world, that's your badge of honor, is your level of masculinity, your level of bravado. Sometimes the people you look up to, are embodiments of this masculinity, of this bravado. So you feel like you gotta follow that.
There's an obsession with success that clouds a lot of male relationships to where a lot of times men don't see the value in communicating with each other about anything that's not revenue generated or the hustle. And it's like, well, how you doing? Let's talk about that. Like, we really missed the boat on that a lot.
So many people are in this space of competition for what kind of the white supremacist environment in this country has told us we have to be fighting for. I mean, it's like, you can't go anywhere without sizing somebody up. Okay. What, it's like, why can't we just be like, hey, like when you did that thing and I was like, I see you. If we could see each other in each other.
It's hard to talk to black men sometimes, there's this arrogance and sometimes black men just feel like they have to, figuratively be the biggest dick in the room, so it's just hard to like open yourself and like to your fellow black man sometimes.
Black men, we all have depression and anxiety symptoms, whether we've been diagnosed or not, right? So it makes you irritable. It makes you not love yourself sometimes. It makes you constantly on guard. James Baldwin talked about being in this constant rage most of the time.
I was at a very low point emotionally decades ago. And it sort of manifested itself in one particular moment when I was still living in New York City. And I had this feeling that I was gonna be harmful, right? I either was gonna be of harm to someone else, or I might even be of harm to myself. But someone, black man, who, saxophone player, he's just playing for money in the subway. He came over to me and he said, hey, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine, right? But back to this idea, right? Now I don't want to show, right? Of course. And he was like, no, you're not. He goes, you are not fine. And I told him how I was feeling, And then he said, well, is there a song I can play for you? And I said, do you know the Peacocks? this beautiful jazz piece. And he said, no, I don't know the Peacocks. He said, but I got something else for you. And he started playing. And when he finished, I said, well, what song was that? And he said, oh, that's Coltrane's Naima. And he said, that's what you needed right now. That is just an act of love that I've always carried with me, right? Because here's this complete stranger, like total stranger, who in that moment, in relation to our conversation we're having now, you know, decided to demonstrate his own love for another person. And I suspect partly because I am Black, he saw me.
I can't remember what was getting me down. Maybe it was the relationship I was in at the time, but whatever it was, I was drinking like bad. And I remember just being out there with like a little plastic thing of tequila and just sipping, looking depressed. And this cat just walked by and he was just like, he said something, I can't remember exactly what he said, but I'll paraphrase. He just said something like, don't worry, King, like, you'll be all right. Like, and I looked at him and this cat had one eye and he was just passing by. And like the fact that he saw me, you know, like sipping on a corner, and I know I wasn't looking happy, but the fact that he saw me and like something told him to say something to me, like something like keep your head up or like it's gonna be all right. Like, and this man looked like, you know, he's had life 10 times harder than me. That never left me.
Even though I had a high GPA, I had played sports, I was well-rounded, the counselor would not help me with college applications. Like everybody else was getting all the hookups, but I was almost top 10 in my class, GPA wouldn't help me, right? My dad made it his mission to get me admitted into as many schools as possible. So this is back when we had typewriters, brother. And so he did 25 college applications on a typewriter, filled them out, and I got 25 scholarship offers. I never forgot that. Like, that stayed with me. But what he was trying to show me is that, you know, I always say sometimes you got to put your dreams on water to see if they'll float. And so he was trying to show me, you are enough.
So the only relationship I have really that showed me real brotherly love, that masculine energy, is my Uncle Eddie. And I talk about him all the time because he always looked me in my eyes and say, Terry, you are a man. Never forget that. And I love you. That always stuck with me. And it made me do what I want to do. It made me go against the grain and be like, I'm not hurting nobody. You know what I'm saying? And I don't see why it's so difficult for me to say, hey, brother, I love you. Congratulations, you're doing such a great job. And then someone just come and ruins it and be like, oh, they just gay.
I realized that there's strength in vulnerability because ain't nobody else gonna do it. So when you do it, everybody inspired by you, they're looking at you like, damn, he put himself out there like that? That inspires me to put myself out there like that too.
I can't be just like Francis, like this dude who's just focused. I have to be Francis who's vulnerable, Francis who might need to talk to somebody, Francis who might need to just cry. You know what I'm saying? These are human emotions. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you gotta kind of, I guess, get out of the framework of this is only what a masculine man can be. You know what I'm saying? This stoic person isn't healthy at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Because like, you compress these emotions, they show up in different ways. So it's like, you gotta embrace that. Like, and you're not weak for doing that. You're actually stronger when you do.
I'm got to the point right now where I try to tell as many Black men, especially in my circle, that I love them, and signing off heart emoji and all this other stuff in there, and telling little kids that it's, you know, that I love them, especially the young Black kids that I've taught and worked with, like, yo, I love you, I'll always be here, blah, 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 because they need to be reminded of that. Like, and it's funny, like, I break, like, reminded, like, consistently that oval of, like, oh, that's someone else that looks like me that loves me, someone else that looks like me that loves me, that's not gonna tell me how I should love or look.
As a Black father raising a Black man, like I said about a revolutionary act, that takes every fiber of your being to make sure that even at 6 years old, that this brother loves himself, can fight these dehumanizing messages that he's getting, and just deal with a white supremacist world. Like, I knew that fatherhood was gonna change me because something when he was born clicked. Like, I'm raising a black man, it's time to get real. Not like I wasn't real before, but like my mission was like, oh, this brother is gonna be emotionally mature. He's gonna learn how to express his emotions. And he's gonna be built for whatever comes to him.
I try my best throughout the day, multiple times, to deliberately demonstrate love and tenderness to my son. It is something that I wish that I had, particularly from the men in my life, both family and non-family. And I just know that my son will be a much better human being for it. And for him to see someone like me, you know, be able to not just demonstrate and show and speak love to him, but to all the men in his life, right? I think is super important. So when he grows up, hopefully he'll never have to sit in a conversation like this, right? But if he does, you know, his memories will be very, very different from my memories.
Yeah, I see you as my brother. Even if we came from different mothers, regardless of skin color, it doesn't matter. See, I gotta wanna protect you like you my own. And we have to. We're responsible for one another, no matter whatever they say. Yo, they can try to take, but they can't erase. Nah, can't wash away our history. They can try to take, but they can't erase. Nah, our history.